Okay, continuing our lesson 2. This is some extension material thinking about the Buddhist conception of the Mahayana Buddhist conception of the Sambhakaya heavenly realm, as it were. And here we see on the right here some heavenly bodhisattvas. These are beings who exist in these other realms, these heavenly realms, who are in Mahayana thinking eager to help us humans, because they are beings of great compassion who once themselves lived on earth, have an abundance of merit they can transfer us, amongst other things they can do for us. And the most significant of all of these beings, and one of the most important of all the bodhisattvas, is Avalokitesvara. And that was the male name for this deity. When Buddhism came to China, particularly Mahayana Buddhism, and it was one of the reasons it was successful in its transmission to China, whereas Theravada was not, is its flexibility. And the deity Avalokitesvara was transformed into from a male to a female deity called Guyan, who hears all our cries. And the iconography, the depiction, the pronouns were changed to female. And this was in response to the local religions of which had a very high place for the female, whereas Theravada did not. It was the renunciation idea emphasized, renunciation of anti-family, anti-ordinary life. And so this is one of the reasons Mahayana is successful. In the picture here we have the Pure Land Bodhisattva, heavenly Bodhisattva, Amenabha. Now, interestingly, he is depicted with Avalokitesvara, and so he is on his right, and Mahatamparata, one of his kind of servants, but he's the central figure. He's more important for Pure Land Buddhists than actually the Buddha himself. So this Bodhisattva ideal is not just for heavenly beings. It's all Mahayana Buddhists who are serious about their faith follow the Bodhisattva ideal. They vow, they literally take a vow, a kind of religious vow, to postpone their own final parinibbana, if that's even possible, until all beings have reached their enlightenment, if that's even a thing. Of course, reaching Buddhahood should be the goal of all beings, or enlightenment. Avalokitesvara we said it was Guyan, also known as, or Kaiwan Yin, and in Japan, Kan. Notice this depiction here of Avalokitesvara has the Buddha. The Buddha is still important, but there's a little sort of thing on it on his forehead. So notice on the right all these many arms. Avalokitesvara. So these are very early depictions. They're male forms. They're not the female form, Guyan. And you find both male and female forms of Avalokitesvara. You pray to Avalokitesvara, and his many hands can help you. Notice the different objects in the hands on the right-hand image. Avalokitesvara is the Bodhisattva of compassion. The other main Bodhisattva is Manjusri, as mentioned before. He holds a sword to cut through our ignorance. In Mahayana, the ignorance is, in particular, our sense of that we exist in any permanent way, any real way, that we are separate from other beings, our ignorance of Buddha nature, our ignorance of sunyata. These are This is the true perfected wisdom that we are ignorant of. And Manjursi cuts off our way of the elder, delusions, foolishness. He helps us understand the true truth doctrine that all utterances are false, and so on. So here we see a devotee praying to a bodhisattva on the left. Notice the showering of blessings, perhaps of karma, the transfer of merit from perhaps the Pure Land Buddha to this devotee as they pray to them. We see other images and statues of bodhisattvas plenty in China and beyond. The hand positions, the mudras, these were all images of bodhisattvas. I mentioned this guy before, the 1008 arm Kuai Yin, the male form, Kanyon, Kuai Yin in China, Kanyon in Japan. He has so many arms because he can help us. We pray, look at all the many arms, and he can help us. There's a pre-Buddhist image here that was incorporated. Mahayana, it's very flexible. It achieved dominance in China. It was transmitted to China because it absorbed aspects of the local religions. And this is a pre-Buddhist religious figure. In the pre-Buddhist religion, you would pray to this person for blessing by rubbing his belly. And so this image got included in the Mahayana pantheon as a figure, a bodhisattva to pray to. Trekeya is the future Buddha that we can look forward to, an emanation, manifestation of Buddha nature coming to all us as an incarnation on earth like the Buddha. So are we a Buddha yet? No, or a bodhisattva, no Mahayana Buddhist would really claim to have achieved enlightenment. They put it off, that's the point. They put it off, in the end, waiting in this world to benefit others. How do we, but yet they want to make progress towards it. So how do they do that? Through various religious practices. In Tibet, visualization is used, using images, deities like Avalokitesvara and Manjursi, and these statues that are personification of the virtues called the Taras, and there are many of these different coloured statues, as it were. Mantra recitation, Om Mani Padme Hum, or many of the other great mantras would be used in Tibetan and beyond. Certainly Pure Land just uses the mantras of Pure Land to achieve on death. If you had recited the name of Amitabha, Nembutsu, Nembutsu, Nembutsu all day long. So the aim is to achieve Buddha nature, or at least to discover it. It's already there. It's there in all things, but most potently, most importantly in bodhisattvas. Avalokitesvara, here's an image, who is the personification of enlightened, compassionate mind. And you identify with it, you visualize Avalokitesvara, or you say Om Mani Padme Hum, which is to honor Avalokitesvara, which is to accept the wisdom, the rich and royal wisdom of Mahayana, the perfected wisdom of Mahayana. That's what the words mean. So just again, you might pause and you might begin to make your own flow diagram, kind of how all of this works. We live in the Nirmanakaya, the physical world, as did Siddhartha Gautama. He was a human like each of us. The historical, as is called in Mahayana, Shakyamuniya. And this, like any of us, he's really no different. We all within us have Buddha nature. He had Buddha nature in it, and he discovered it. his life, importantly, was, for Mahayana Buddhists, a just so story. He did not need to be enlightened because he already was enlightened. The reality was the ultimate reality, the Dharmakaya, the truth body. He was always enlightened. The truth of reality, the Buddha nature, it's always there. It's to be discovered. It's the ultimate reality in all beings. And in a way, the best we can look for, I guess, in Mahayana is the heavenly realm, the Sambhogakaya, the enjoyment body, the bliss body. And we find the eternal Buddha, which gets embodied in other forms like the future Buddha, Maitreya. So there are different interpretations of the Buddha. The historical Buddha, the truth Buddha, the ultimate truth Buddha, heavenly Buddhas, or future Buddhas like Maitreya within Mahayana. The Buddha is seen as being an incarnated many times, emanated many times as these historical figures, both before Shakyamuni and after. He was never just a saint, he was always an enlightened bodhisattva. Denise Kush says, his life is a drama for our benefit. This is very Mahayana. To show the path. Mahayana Buddhists seek to help bodhisattvas. Whereas in Theravada, the Theravada interpretation is he's only a historical figure, a saint. He left behind his teachings to show the path. Theravada Buddhists themselves rely on the teachings only. He had to become enlightened. He wasn't enlightened at one point. In Theravada, like all of us, and in Mahayana, the opposite. He was enlightened, he just didn't know it. He had to discover it. And in a way, his life is, he never needed to be enlightened. It's sort of an example for us. So an extension task. This is the quote from Arthur Basham's book. You might read again the chapter on Mahayana Buddhism by A.L. Basham and explain it in your own words what all of this means. So could you, for example, create a notes page on the concept of the Buddha and creation? You might, for example, create a Buddhist polemicist pamphlet called My Buddha's Better Than Yours to send to Sri Lanka. Or you could write a paragraph explaining the polemical nature of Buddhism of the 2nd century BC, how its key ideas reject the ideas of Mahayana Buddhism.